go. Just fumbling through the last one. Sorry, a lot of ums. I was fuddled by the whole Houston Texans scenario. So we come to our last team, talking NFL free agency. Last team in the AFC South, the Tennessee Titans. They sit at 29 this year for the 2020 draft. Ended the season very strong. Very strong. We're the last playoff wild card seed, come in, take out the who did they take out in the first round? I can't
Baltimore.
remember. Was it in the first? I thought that was in
Oh,
the
no,
second.
that was the second round. Yeah, but who did they take out? That's a very good question.
They can't remember. They can't remember. Anyways, it'll come to one of us. Nonetheless, they went on to travel to the number one seeded and potential Super Bowl contender, as everyone kind of saw it, in Baltimore Ravens, and took care of business. Then they go up to New England, take care of it. Or was that it? New England. That was it.
Yeah.
They took care of New
Yes,
England in
yes,
the first
that
round.
was- that's right.
That was it.
Because they didn't get a
Vrabel
bye.
goes home and gets it, then goes on to...
I think that was Bill Belichick's first loss to one of his coaches.
Anyways, so that's, Tennessee came on strong. Thus, 29th pick later in the draft. They currently sit at 16 of 32 teams in terms of salary cap with $28 million. We have needs written down for them as tight end, running back, 2, because we know they franchise tagged Derrick Henry. Offensive line, they did just lose Jack Conklin to Cleveland, who is probably their best offensive lineman. D-end and cornerback. Now, news that just came in probably about an hour ago, they did sign Vic Beasley, outside linebacker / D-end.
Prove it deal.
Yep, from the Atlanta Falcons. It's a 1-year deal, but it is a $12 million deal with $9.5 guaranteed.
Okay. Yep. So that's again, they filled a need we talked about. It wasn't a tremendous need in the sense that they have a pretty solid D line, but a need nonetheless.
Yep.
A chance for a guy to recoup his career.
Yep. Let me run through some of the free agents of note on the list here. I'll start with guys that are starters. We know Jack Conklin's gone. Kamale Correa, outside linebacker, and Logan Ryan, cornerback. They are both free agents. That is kind of the front line. Then you move to kind of some of the second line guys. Obviously, Mariota's gone. They re-signed Tannehill to a nice big deal. Tajay Sharp, wide receiver, he is already gone. You've got McCole Pruitt, tight end. Delaney Walker, tight end. Those guys are free agents. You've got Wesley Woodyard, linebacker. Austin Johnson, nose tackle. Darren Bates, linebacker, free agents. Tremaine Brock, cornerback. LaShawn Sims, cornerback, free agents. Kicker, Ryan Suckup, free agent. Dion Lewis, that backup running back 2 we said might be needed. He's a free agent, as well as another running back, David Fluellen. Cameron Wake, D-end. He is a free agent. Anyone here I missed? They have a few other guys, another wide receiver, some other corners. But yeah, kind of falls in suit with tight end, running back 2, O-line, D-end, cornerback.
All right. So I think this team, I guess here's my feeling on them. They've made their decision at quarterback. I like what they did in this sense. I think there is a risk with Tannehill because it's only 1 year. But that being said, they were heavily earmarked towards wanting to go after Brady. And the thing is, Brady is still really, it's the news out right now is that Brady has not really done much in the way of contact. A contact on Monday with the Tampa team. Hasn't talked to the Chargers yet, which are the 2 teams most linked to him at this point. So they could have not moved on Tannehill, and Tannehill would have commanded some people going after him and could have upped the price. They went right out at and right off the bat, he was one of the first signees right around that time. A little bit actually, I think, before, because he was their own free agent, so they could sign him and did it. So I like that. They made that decision quickly. Again, whether Tannehill is really the long-term answer remains to be seen. But if he plays anything and stays healthy and plays anything like he did in the second half of the season, I think it's going to turn out certainly solid, if not really well for them.
I think you gave the guy the running game they had and the good blocking up front that they had, and it made great sense for him.
I think he's a smarter version.
For him.
It's a smarter version of what they envisioned for Mariota.
He seemed very comfortable.
Yeah,
and I think knowing you have the blocking up front and the guy behind you to tote the rock as much as he does as well, made his life a lot easier, and he knew it, and it showed in his game. He played loose and he played well.
Well, he's a guy like, if you think about it, the way Tannehill played in that offense, I think, is a lot of what they envisioned Marcus Mariota doing when they drafted him. But Mariota struggled to see the field. He struggled to get comfortable in the pocket, whereas Tannehill did that. And he was very comfortable. He could throw on the run, and he knew how to keep his eyes downfield, but at the same time, not forced to always make the big play. I also think the emergence of A.J. Brown as the season went on is another major thing for them. If I'm them offensively, we talked about it already. Tight end is an area Delanie Walker has been a really big signing for them in the sense that he has lived up to a very limited contract, especially at the end of his career, in the fact that he's been durable. Like he should be falling apart right now, and he was durable, but he's not flashy. I think they need a little bit more out of the tight end position, so that's something that they could look at. At 29, they may be looking at a tight end at that point. It might be a Kmet or probably a Bryce Hopkins. Hopkins isn't going to last that long, but they could go do something like that. Running back too, I think they need, instead of the thunder and lightning kind of, it wasn't really lightning, it was really more pass catching that they had. I think they need a more versatile third down back, a guy that can come in and maybe play a series first and second down.
Dion Lewis literally wasn't there to spell Henry. He was there to play the
pass catching,
third down, long yardage role. I think that having someone to spell Henry could do that would be good. I completely agree.
I think they can do that even in the draft. So I'm not necessarily saying that has to be a focus of free agency. A guy like Jordan Howard, who I don't think would fit there because he's too much like a poor man's version of Derrick Henry, meaning he's a thump it in between the tackles. But you do want a guy that can catch the ball, I think is important, because that's not a huge part of Derrick Henry's game. He's a little better than people give him credit for, but it's not a huge part. But I would think, you want somebody like you said that can spell him as opposed to offset him by playing that long passing down. And then certainly they got to look at O-line. I don't think the right tackle is as dire to replace. I think it's important, don't get me wrong, but it's not as dire as a left tackle blind side for a quarterback. And so what do they do there? Do I think they can recover that in the draft and maybe get a serviceable veteran later in free agency that at least can come in and start the year and maybe have somebody coming in after that? Those are some areas that I think they need to do on offense. But in reality, they've got to stay healthy and they've got to run their offense like they ran it in the second half of the year, because to me, that was a tale of two seasons for them. The first half of the year, weren't they the ones they got No, they blew out Cleveland. That's right. They were the ones that blew out Cleveland. But they had a couple of stinkers early on in the year. It was the second half of the year where you started to, and they got away from Mariota, where you started to see that team evolve, and you were like, you and I, we said it already. We said it last year. Man, if there's a team I don't want to play that's skirting that, bye week or the fifth or sixth spot in the playoffs, it was this team. I didn't want to play them, and they proved it because they went all the way to the title game.
Yep. I could see that if they don't pick up a lineman in free agency here, which I think they're becoming thin, I think letting a guy like Conklin go, and that knowing he was one of the big free agents coming on the board even beforehand out there, probably one of the top offensive linemen outside of a Scherf. And you see they tagged Scherf, and so, then it starts to get thin. He was certainly the last one, I think, out there left that was the top. And letting him go, I feel like they had a plan there. I don't think that's a guy you just let go and try to fill the void, even in free agency. I think that they could try to at 29, again, you could get a good offensive lineman in this
And let's
draft.
just say this too.
I think they're going to take at 29 another offensive lineman right there because you're right. I think that they do need a versatile back. But how does this sound? I mean, Cam Akers in the second round, late second.
You know how I feel about Cam. I think whoever gets him is getting a steal because I don't think he's going to go anywhere near where his talent is. Now, I'm not saying he's the best back in the draft. I'm just saying I think his stock is not. And now that he won't have a pro day,
what I'm talking about,
yeah.
And at the end of a second round, he may be there. That's a guy. Whoa. He's got the versatility, and he's a guy that had to carry an entire team for over a year
with the worst offensive line in all of college football.
How about
he's also
this name maybe even a little bit later, maybe in the third round, Keyshawn Vaughn from Vanderbilt.
Yep. Yeah, I'm telling you, these.
I mean,
running back's going to be really cool.
So that versatile, and I'm picking backs. I'm looking on this list in the draft by position as they're rated, and I'm looking at backs particularly in the area of the late second or third that have that versatility. Those are two, I think, because then in between you've got Eno Benjamin, A.J. Dillon, like him. I don't know about the pass. He can pass catch, but he's
probably a little more like Derrick Henry.
Right, but you talk about a guy like Cam Akers or a guy like Keyshawn Vaughn. Those guys are versatile.
Yeah, here's the amazing
they
part
can run
about
inside,
those.
They can run outside. They can catch the ball.
Think about this. They tagged him for a big number. Now, I'm not saying move on from Derrick Henry, but I even looking at Cam Akers. Like Cam Akers is an NFL starter in my mind.
I know.
So you're talking about a guy that potentially, if he could come in and do it, not only makes your team better,
but
what does that do for your
bait on either side?
Or cap space the next year. You got all kinds of things.
Talking about, son.
So
I do think 29. That's somewhere they'll go. Now, possibly go lineman. Now we just talked a couple podcasts ago about the Indianapolis Colts and one of their big free agents who I think they should re-sign, especially now that Rivers is coming in and likes to lean and always has on a tight end in Eric Ebron. But suppose they don't. Suppose the team like Tennessee goes and picks up Ebron. I mean, they don't have a ton of room, but that's a tight end. If, he's not going to command tons of money, market value 9.7, suppose you give him a longer deal and bring it down, maybe some guaranteed money up front. You're talking about, then you bring in somebody like that. Now you've solved the tight end problem.
Well, let me say this too about O-line
problem and a running back problem.
But you don't know that they don't have an O-lineman on there. This is the hard part because we can't all sit there and say, listen, I'm not saying you're going to find them on that list, but I'm saying the other thing you don't know about, and I guess this is always fair to say about O-linemen.
They've got centers Ben Jones. Conklin's gone from right tackle. Right guard is Nate Davis. Left guard is Roger Saffold. Left tackle, Taylor Lewan.
Yep.
So they've got some good guys on this squad.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess my point is if they have, sometimes when people let people go, and with O-line, you don't get, it's not like O-line is a rotational piece. So sometimes you have guys on your spot that can step up.
They have David Quisenberry behind Jack Conklin at right tackle.
He's been around a lot. How old is he?
Quisenberry is 29 out of San Jose State. He's 6'5", 302. He was drafted by Houston.
Yep, I remember him. He was a starter on Houston for a little while too.
And he's not that old. He's a 3-year.
No, but the fact that he's a retread of another team leads me to believe that they probably don't necessarily think he's the answer. But again, you go back to the idea that this team is not that far away. Obviously proved that they can compete, and I think that's going to be really interesting for them. And then you got to go to defense. We already talked about they've already made a move at DN. I am not a big Vic Beasley believer.
Did we bring this up?
Yeah, you did. You started off with that. But that being said, he would not be the first guy you ever see come in. Now, here's the thing is it probably makes the Cameron Wake pickup because this is not a strong side DN. This is not a heavy DN. Vic Beasley is undersized at his position in a 4-3 front. So do you have that size on the other DN side? And then can you go out and, do they find a cornerback on the cheaper, aspect of it? They've got some good players in the secondary. They got Adoree Jackson. Can they fill some of those needs? Again, this isn't a team that's that far off. So it is going to require that certain things that are not guarantees play out on offense.
I mean, they've got some ballers. Now, the defense was good, and for the most part, besides Wake, I mentioned Correa, outside linebacker, but they picked up Vic. So Vic will probably come in, and it's a 1-year prove-it deal, and I think they're hoping that, Correa was 6'3", 243, so he's a little bit bigger than Vic, but he's going to probably fill that void at that position. Then you got Logan Ryan at cornerback. But, outside of that, you got Byard at free safety and Vaccaro at strong. You got Malcolm Butler at corner and Malcolm Butler at one corner. Jayon Brown inside linebacker. Harold Landry outside linebacker. Now you've brought in Vic. And Landry's fast, but he's longer. He's bigger.
Yeah,
so it's
I forgot they had Landry too.
From Boston College. So he's young and he's a little bit different. They have Jarrell Casey, Daquan Jones, and then they tag Jeffrey Simmons at the end.
Yeah, I mean
they got a good squad, man.
They do.
This Tennessee Titans team
bears watching. Watching.
That's why, again, I think they go offensive lineman at 29, and they go for a running back. They could, and if they could pick up somebody like, if Ebron comes loose and they take him, that would be a great fit. They could go, they might still have a little bit of room and just re-sign Logan Ryan. And maybe a couple of these Wesley Woodyard and stuff.
And I see him probably fourth round, maybe going for maybe a little bit of flash in a speedy, smaller, undersized receiver. Again, but they have who's the guy from Clemson? They got the slot guy, Humphreys, right?
Yeah,
they have
Adam Humphreys.
So,
he's do a fine job there. They lost Tajay Sharp, but he was playing second fiddle to A.J. Brown in his rookie season. Corey Davis is on the squad. Travion Thompson from Clemson is on their squad. I did not know that. He's good. Cameron Batson, huh? Maybe wide receiver. You're right.
Yep.
They could go maybe even earlier than that, in like a third or fourth round at a wide receiver out there.
I don't know how. I mean, they were going to want some field stretching, but I don't know that's
what they
really
would have to get.
But that's not Tannehill's game. Is not going to be the long ball so much.
No,
so they may not be built that way.
Guy,
yeah,
just to have a field stretcher in the passing game, because I don't know that any of these guys really are. Actually, Travion Thompson is. He's a flyer and he's tall, but I don't know that he'd fall so far as to where are they, late third or fourth. But KJ Hamler from Penn State,
that'd be a little bit of a burner.
Like that. You got KJ Hill from Ohio State,
or what's the guy from Arizona State?
Brandon Ayuk.
Yep.
I think he might be higher. He's higher up on the list. He wouldn't fall that far. Denzel Mims from Baylor, he won't fall that far, but I'm just looking at some of these guys. Cephas from Wisconsin, a guy like that. Courtney Davis, A&M, he's more of a possession receiver, tall body guy. There's some guy. Lawrence Cager from Georgia.
Yeah, I think they're in a position, again, we talk about it. There's teams that are in position that have needs, and there's
Cager was like a
No, you're thinking of the other guy that got suspended.
I am. But I think somebody like that, dude, like or the first guy I said, DeAndre Overton's on this list from Clemson. All right. But who did I say first? From Penn State?
Hamler.
KJ Hamler?
Yep.
Little speedster like that? That's exactly what you're talking about. I don't know if he'd fall that later, depending, not the way I'm saying the way they're going to do it, but who knows? But
they're not, they got to be careful with their money, but they're not under a lot of pressure. And I think they can fill needs in a very intelligent way that doesn't bury them for the future. Now, again, they do have that big number on their quarterback now, so they got to deal with that. But That being said, I still think this team is well positioned.
Yeah. Ooh, Antonio Gibson. He can play wide receiver and running back. Memphis. The draft. It's April, right? It's not May. It's the
April.
End of April.
Well, April, assuming it sounds like they're going to hold it. Sounds like they're going to hold it in Vegas. It's going to be closed. It's a closed draft. But yes, it is, at this point, it has not been pushed back. So we shall see.
Well, we are done with all but one division in the AFC, and that will be the AFC West, which we will get on to next. Get these out and up. We'll probably do that tomorrow. Then we've wrapped up free agency talk, and really we'll probably just do a couple updates and for the free agency, and then that period kind of slows down. We'll do we'll do some mock drafts. It'll be fun. We'll go back and forth. I did it last year. This is before the dynamic Dave came on the mics, but I did it with Mr. Avino. Wasn't as exciting as you, my brother, but I love him to death anyways. But we'll do that. We kind of went back.
Who do you have the Falcons taking?
I think I had to pick the Falcons.
Oh, did you?
We went back and forth.
Okay.
I think he ended up having to pick for the Giants. I think I ended up having to pick for the Falcons. I think we had Kyler Murray still out there, and he picked on the Giants or something.
Nice.
I don't know, but well, it was fun. Whether it was accurate or not, it was fun. So we'll eventually get to that. But good stuff. Appreciate you listening. We'll see you as always
On the gridiron.